Hey, friends. Okay, I'm about to go live on Facebook fam. We'll go live on Facebook fam. Oh, snap. Dang it. I forgot to do something before I did that. Myself. Hold on 1 second, YouTube fam. I'm just trying to get logged in on Facebook here. I won't hold y'all too long here. Okay, go live. Gotta charge my laptop fam. Whew. All right, come on in the room. We're live, and I won't hold y'all too long. I don't think I ever have gone live on a Tuesday at 11 o'clock, but I am today. Just have some thoughts to share with you all. I'll be right back. I am coming, fam. I am coming. All right, fam. Hello, everyone. Hello. I know a lot of y'all are working. So if y'all want to sneak and take a little break from work, I know some of you will be working at 12. I would love to have gone on at 12, but I actually have a meeting at 12, and I do have another break at 1, but I figure some of you may be getting back to work. I don't know. Sorry, I couldn't meet with y'all on lunch hour. But anyways, hello everyone. So just introduce myself real quick to all of you that do not know who I am. Good Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon. It is July 1st. So July 1st, 2025. We are officially halfway through 2025. And I have a few things I want to share with you all before we get into it. I'm not going to hold y'all too long because I do have a 12 o'clock meeting. But as we're getting started, feel free to go ahead and tell me where you're calling from, where you're listening from. So of course, if you share, I can see your name. But go ahead and drop a comment telling me, your city, your state, your country. Tell me if you're working at the moment. Tell me if you're on lunch break. All right. So for those of you that do not know who I am, the name is Kim Marie McLeod. Kim Marie McLeod. I always put that Marie in there because there's a lot of many Kim McLeods in this world, but I just want to let you all know that you have the right one, Kim Marie McLeod. Kim Marie McLeod. I am a licensed professional counselor for the state of Virginia. I am owner and director of Right the Vision Advocacy Consulting and Counseling. I am also an independent travel agent, as well. Host agency is IntelliTravel, and just kind of give you a backstory on that. Today's segment is not necessarily about counseling or not necessarily about travel. It's just about life in general, and I just want to share a few things that came to mind this morning because I feel like there's been a shift this year. And I know in some of my other videos I have shared with you all some things I've noticed in my life. I feel like there's been like a major shift in my life, like November of 2024. And then I feel like there was like another shift in like February of 2025. And since the Lord has been working with me like really deeply on some areas in my life. And I noticed in like May, I just really became like really motivated when it comes to being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, and just with like self-development. And just learning to not focus on the things that you see and not focus on the things that you feel that needs to change or be improved, but maximizing what I have control over and doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing. So with that being said, since last Monday, for the past 7 days, I have been part of my travel business team, like this network that I'm part of. We've been having a early morning book club huddle and whatnot. And so the book that we're reading right now is Relentless. So this is the book that we're currently reading right now. And my travel sponsor / director, coach, she gently nudged me and was like, are you a morning person? How do you feel about getting up in the morning and reading and discussing? And I'm like, I'm not a morning person. But I'm like, this is not the first time she brought this up. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try it this time. So I got my book officially on Monday night, but I start logging in. My first day was last Monday. It starts at 6 a.m. in the morning. So that means like I have to be up like 5:30, 5:50. There's been some days I didn't get up to like 5:50. And as I'm getting up, I'm trying to also like say a word of prayer or like, listen to some audio Bible just to get my mind right for the day. And so I am so happy and proud of myself that I've been able to survive 7 days so far officially with the book, with the morning huddle. So really thankful I've been able to do that. I've been learning, like, it's interesting, like the book brings up some really great points. It's definitely been challenging my thinking, challenging my motivation. And so I'm just glad I've been able to do that. And I think it's just such perfect time that I started to do that now, because we're halfway out the year. And I'll be honest with you, from January to right now, I feel like for the most part, this year has been great. I've been very thankful for this year. There's been a lot of great things happening this year. So let's get into it. So during this morning, like I said, in my kind of book club huddle, right? From that, also after that, I wanted to actually go back to sleep for a couple hours before I started back working because I had a meeting at 10. But as I laid down, it's like my mind was already like wired and working. And I'm like, okay, so let me read some scripture. You know, I touched base with a friend of mine. She was really encouraging, shared some scriptures with me, shared some worship songs with me. And I'm like, you know what? Either I'm going to go to sleep or I'm going to get up and do something. And I'm laying there, legit. These are the three things that came to my mind today about 3 goal killers. Okay. So, first and foremost, I really want to encourage you all. If you don't have any goals right now from July 1st to December 31st of this year, I want to just encourage you and I want you to allow for yourself and give yourself permission to create some goals for yourself for this year. Okay. This year is zooming past us. It's going by so fast. Okay, fam. So make sure you go ahead and take note of some goals that you want to take care of for this year. Okay. And for those that have made goals for this year, this is a great time to go back and check on those goals that you have for yourself. So these were the 3, like I said, I won't hold y'all too long, but these were, when I check my notes here, so these were the top 3 goal killers. And I just want to touch on each one from what was given to me today. So the number one goal killer that I've noticed that came to me, that was a reminder to me today, was number 1, talk too much about things that don't matter. Okay. These are 3 top goal killers. 1, talk too much about things that don't matter. Okay. So what do I mean by that? All right. So let's say you have a goal, right? So for example, I just use myself as an example because I can't speak for no one, right? So, as some of you know, I'm a counselor, right? So, one of my goals for this year is to continue to have a booked out schedule. All right. So, right now, the way my schedule works with seeing clients or residents, I'm available Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Okay. Generally between 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. All right. Thursdays is my admin day. I normally don't see anybody on Thursdays. Fridays is my rest day, it's my Sabbath. Saturdays as well, I don't have meetings. Like I may have like one meeting a month on Thursdays and like one meeting a month on Saturdays. Okay. But generally, a Saturday is a day for me to reset or meet up with friends, you know, interact socially, and just get prepared for Sunday and the new week. Then Sundays, of course, I am off as well on Sundays, and I use that day. Of course, I'm in church half the day, and the other half, I'm taking care of things for the church or for myself. And I'm also doing things for like travel. So I'm also doing things for travel on like Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays as well. So with that being said, so one of my personal goals, like when it comes to my counseling practice or my counseling career, is to have a full booked schedule from now until the rest of the year. Okay. So I already mentioned to you, right? My main days out schedule is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Okay. So if when it comes to that, if I'm talking about other things, that's like if I'm promoting, let's say I'm on my private practice social media page, right? And I'm talking about a whole bunch of nonsense and my caseload is not full. Let's just say I'm like always on my business page or even on my personal page. So if I'm talking all this stuff about other practices, right, and how I disagree with other practices or other counselors and challenging the system and all that type of stuff, right? But my caseload isn't full or my schedule isn't full. Like that's a prime example. Talking too much about things that don't matter. What anybody else is doing with their practice and their counseling skills has no direct impact and effect on me and how I'm running my practice. Talking too much. So even in the times, like even on those 3 days, right, that I'm going to have a full schedule, right? And let's say there's a day that I don't have any clients or meetings, right? I shouldn't be like talking to other people about stuff that does not matter when I have not fulfilled that goal. Okay. Also, too, um, when we're talking to our family and our friends and our colleagues and acquaintances, like we need to be mindful of the speech and a conversation that we're having. Is it building up that goal and dream that you have, or is the conversation just about everything that is going wrong with the goal that you have set? So going back to the goal that I have shared with you all about, my goal for the rest of the year is to have a full schedule, Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, completely full. That I don't want to have any openings and slots open. Okay. Now, of course, there's going to be some weeks that I'm going to be off, but of course, aside from those weeks that's already set in the schedule that I'm going to be off this year, I want to make sure that all my slots that I have open on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays are full, right? So I just want to be very mindful of when I'm in conversation with people concerning business, right? That I'm not saying things that's going to um, detour like my goals or discourage the goals that I have, right? I want to do my best from not murmuring and complaining. And, as a believer, as a Christian believer, all right, no shame in my game. I think many of you already know that anyway. But with that being said, we have to remind ourselves when we read the Bible, we notice that God gets really upset when his people murmur and complain. Like we have to remember that literally a whole generation was like a whole generation died in the wilderness. They never had the chance to see and experience the promised land because of their murmuring and complaining. Of course, it was disobedient as well, but part of that was also the murmuring and complaining. And so, use an example of my practice. Like God has been so gracious, He's been so faithful that He has blessed me with this great business to, direct and operate and to steward, right? So I want to make sure when I speak about it that is uplifting, that is encouraging, that I'm giving God all the glory, and that like I'm speaking life. I'm speaking life. And I can honestly say that my practice is where it is now because um I spoke life into it. I've walked in faith in it. All right. We want to make sure that our speech um is in faith. Like we're speaking faith, right? So let's just say, oh, just because I may not be full today, I can be full next week. I'm believing that in this coming week, God's going to bless me with new clients or new residents, right? That's going to help get my schedule full. This is just an example, fam. This is an example because in real life, in real time, I am very busy with with meetings. God has definitely blessed me a lot when it comes to my counseling practice. So you just want to be careful. Number one, goal killers talk too much about things that don't matter. You want to be very careful because in this time of day that we live in, this type of hour that we live in, it is so easy to get sucked up into conversations that don't matter. And when you leave the conversations, you are drained, right? you are unproductive, the conversations are productive, and it leaves you unproductive, because we have to consider every minute, every hour that we choose to entertain into conversations. We have to understand that we don't get that time back. Yes, God is a redeemer of time, right? But we have to consider that some things are out of our control and some things are in our control. So we can expect God to redeem time that we purposely wasted and chose to be unproductive. Okay. So we want to be very careful. Like, I hope and pray that we can practice this starting today and for the rest of this year. And everything I say with a disclaimer is for myself. It's for myself first. It's for myself first. And if you are encouraged, you can also embrace this word and share it and apply it to your own life. But these are things that I have noticed, that I have personally experienced throughout the years, and where I'm at now. In a few other videos that I have made, that I've been on last week, I said that I'm no longer going to entertain conversations that is about murmuring and complaining, when yes, there are solutions for them. Like, God says He will give us a way of escape. There's a solution to practically just about everything and everything. All right. So we want to be careful in this July. Be very careful. Be very careful in what you allow for yourself to speak to yourself, to others, when it comes to your goals. Okay. Even in conversations, like, even though you want to be encouragement to your goals, you want to also encourage other people's goals as well. Okay, you want to be an encourager. You just don't want people to encourage you, but you also want to be an encourager. So you want to be very careful with the words that you speak to yourself, to others, about others, and about your goals. Okay, so as you're making your goals, you want to make sure that you're speaking faith. You're speaking faith over these goals and not getting caught up in conversations that literally don't matter. Okay? So just want to caution you on that. I'll leave it at that. Okay? So number 1, talk too much about things that don't matter. Number two, goal killer. Number 2, goal killer. No preparation. No preparation, no work, no effort towards the goal. So that's technically like 3 in 1, but no preparation, no work, and no effort. So like I said too, like right now, our travel group, we're reading this at this moment, and there's a part that talks about being prepared about things. And I was also reminded, because just sharing a little bit about me, you all, I have struggled throughout the years with procrastination and waiting to the last minute to do things. We stand here today, and there's things that God has spoken to me earlier this year on ways of things that I need to prepare for things. And there's still a lot more preparation. I've started some preparation in some areas, but there's still some areas that I need to prepare. And for whatever, like, I know what the reason is. It's me. It's myself is in a way. And we have to remind ourselves, sometimes it's not people, it's not situations. Sometimes it is us that is in our own way. And so, a goal killer can be no preparation, right? So we want to make sure in this new year, starting out, take note of what your goals are and start preparing, right? So for those of you to know that, I'm in the travel business, right? I've been posting a lot of things about travel, been posting a lot of things about cruises and all that type of stuff, right? Just note that there was a lot of preparation to get to that point. You have to understand that I started as a travel agent back in February 2024, and that's when I started training. Like, so before, y'all been seeing like all these like postings that I've been doing on social media, like on Facebook and Instagram and on YouTube. please understand that there has been weeks, literally weeks, that I've been like training, earning certifications in area like reading things, listening to things, going, listening to webinars, sitting in, things like that. So there's been things that's happening in the background, that you all cannot see, right? Because all that you can see is the things that I actually post. So there's things that I have to do to share with you all and plan things. So now I'm at the point now that there's certain cruises that I am comfortable with talking about, comfortable with booking, because I've done the training, right? Done the training at home, done the training even on site. So just note that whatever your goal that you're trying to get to, there's preparation. Same thing goes for my counseling, right? There's preparation. Like for example, for counselors in Virginia, like we just had to renew our license the ending of June, and we had to do like 20 hours of at least 20 hours of CEUs, right? So of course, I did all mine in June, of course. But the thing about it is the board gives us all year to do it. Okay. So you have to be mindful of what is it that you need to start doing to reach your goal, fam. Okay. I just last night I just met with my brand new resident counseling. Okay. And I just think that I really believe like we're a really great fit. Everything's gonna work. I believe everything's gonna work out really great for us and for her in her pursuit for license. And anybody that becomes a resident in counseling, anyone that becomes a licensed professional counselor, anyone that becomes a licensed clinical social worker or a licensed marriage family therapist, like we just not going to show up and be licensed, right? When you see that title behind someone's name, or someone announces that, hey, I'm a licensed such and such, just know that that just did not happen overnight. There were preparation, right? There were years in education, getting your bachelor's, getting your master's, having to get approved from the board to start residency. You have to have hours. You have to have literally thousands of hours working with clients and doing documentation and seeing a clinical supervisor. Okay. Then you have to do hours of studying for the exam to pass it. So it's no surprise or no mistake when someone becomes a licensed such and such, professional. Okay. There's preparation for that. Also, there's work. So part of this goal killer is no work and no effort. I shared this in one of my live videos last week. And if you're new here with listening to my lives, you would definitely want to go back and listen, go back and binge some of my lives, because I break down some of these things even in more detail. And I talked about, I think it was last week, if I'm not mistaken. If it wasn't last week, it was a week before that. But I talked about the concept of work and how God created work. Like we serve a God of work, okay? Like he want us to be working on something. God created this world, right? When he created Adam, guess what? Guess what? Adam had a job. Adam was working in the garden. This perfect place. Imagine that. Adam was literally living in paradise. The Garden of Eden, like he had everything he needed. He walked and talked with the Lord. Perfect, this perfect being, perfect place, perfect experience. And even in all of this glory, and like I said, he was in paradise. Even paradise, Adam had a job. Adam was working. Adam was working. Okay. And so even when Eve came in the picture, right? He was like, okay, this is your helpmate. So that means what? What's a helpmate? Someone's gonna be working alongside of you. So here we are in paradise, and God is having us work. So it doesn't matter what season that we're in. Doesn't matter if we were in January of 2025. Doesn't matter if we're July 1st. Doesn't matter if we're in December 2025. We have to recognize that there's still work to be done. There's work to be done, right? So for you to accomplish the goals that God has given to you, there's work involved. All right. I was just sharing this with someone the other day. I think it was like last week, maybe. I think it's maybe in one of my lives. I'm not sure if I shared it yet. But the whole idea about miracles, right? Miracles are great. I love miracles. I love when God does a miracle. Okay. I am a living witness. I'm a living witness of miracles. Okay. Love miracles, right? At the same time, we also have to understand that every situation that we get into, every situation or circumstance or challenge that we have or struggle that we have doesn't always require a miracle, even though we may want a miracle, but it doesn't always require a miracle. And sometimes, even when we feel it requires a miracle, sometimes Jesus decides that he's not going to do a miracle because he's choosing to do this another way. And also part of that is that he's also trying to teach us something in that season, something in that struggle, something in that trial, something in that circumstance, in that situation. He's trying to teach us something, right? There's like, you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of God doing this miraculous, miracle and event? I come out of it and I didn't learn anything from it. I'm not able to recognize the meaning and purpose of the situation. One of the stories that I really like when it comes to miracles is when Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. Okay, so for those not familiar with them, if I'm not mistaken, the story is in the Gospel of John, if I'm not mistaken, and in the Holy Bible. And what ended up happening was Jesus was out of town. He was not in that particular area when Lazarus was very sick. Lazarus became very, very sick. All right. And Jesus was taking care of some other business, right? And so when Jesus arrived to where Lazarus was already dead. Okay. He was already dead for a few days. And Lazarus, sister was like, if he was here, he wouldn't have died. Like, he's dead. And Jesus is like, I am the resurrection. I am the resurrection. Like, you're talking and looking at the miracle. And so what Jesus was trying to help them recognize is that, dead or alive, like, Jesus has this whole issue handled and under control. There's no reason for us to panic, right? Or get off track and to stop doing what he told us to not do. And granted, they were grieving, so rightfully so. Like, by no means we get upset with them, with Mary and Martha grieving. They're grieving the death of their brother, rightfully so. And at the same time, Jesus is like, if you really knew who I was, you may not be saying what you're saying, because I am the resurrection, and everybody know what ended up happening, right? God raised Lazarus from the dead. And we know that was even more of an eye-opener to people, right? So not only can Jesus heal the sick, right? But we know Jesus can raise the dead, right? Because he's life. He's life. So with that being said, fam, there's work to be done. Even when the situation seems that is alive, or even when the situation may seem that is dead, like we still have the responsibility to work and work on that goal. Okay. So this year, July 1st to the end of this year, we have July, August, September, October, November, December. We have 6 full months. We have 6 full months. Okay. So welcome in, Alex. Welcome in, Melissa. So just a refresher really quick. Our 3 goal killers. Number 1, talk too much about things that don't matter. Number 2, no preparation and no work. We're still on step 2. So the other part of step 2 is no effort. Okay. So there is a possibility that we can work and have no effort in working. And something came to my mind this morning in my early morning book club. It's not a book club that I've created. It's part of my travel team. And so the directors, they they lead it, and others, we get on and we discuss like the readings and things like that, right? And I thought about direct my travel director and sponsor slash coach. She wasn't able to make it this morning, and I was already planning on to be on, right? So I ended up getting a message from her a few minutes before it started, just sharing with me that she was unable to make it. And responded back, and then I was on the Zoom. They want everybody cameras to be on and whatnot, and I was there. I was alert. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I did speak this morning. And the thought that I thought about during that meeting this morning, I'm like, you know what, I find it so interesting that how when we're at a place of an employment, and and like I said, I can't speak for no one, but I know I've experienced this at different other like places of employment that I used to work at. So if you don't know, guys, fam, I have worked a lot of places throughout the years, a lot of places. And so this it's a miracle in itself, right? That I am a business owner, and then I, work. I first of all I work for the Lord, and of course, secondly, I work for the business. I work for myself. But I just remember in the meeting this morning, I may share. I think I may share this tomorrow in the meeting. But I thought in the meeting, I'm like, it's so interesting when we're at work and when our like supervisors or bosses or managers are not in the office, how slack we get with our work. Like I remember this one particular job I used to have. I used to be a housing case manager years ago, and I think I was in that position for like 4 or 5 years. And I remember those days when our when our managers was that we knew that wasn't going to be in, like, wow, like it was such used to be such like chilled out days, like chilled chilled out days. I remember we were just like, of course, I'm not saying we don't work at all, but sometimes we chilled out, like legit. Sometimes we chilled out, sometimes we took long lunch breaks, sometimes we chose to get off early. So, and I think I think a lot of y'all may have experienced that you notice when your managers and bosses or supervisors or whatever you call them, team leads, are not in the office or right there, that those are probably like your most slacked off days. And I thought about something this morning during a meeting. I'm like, shouldn't that be the opposite? Like when my directors or when my supervisors or managers or bosses are not present, I should work just as hard or harder when they're not there. And so it was just so interesting to have that thought there, because even in the context of like spirituality, being a Christian believer, right? You know, some of us, we want to hear from God all the time. We want to like hear his voice all the time. We want to feel his spirit and presence all the time, right? And now there's seasons that we will experience the power of God, the spirit of God so strongly, right? There's going to be seasons that we hear God's voice like clearly, clear as day. Like no one cannot convince us that we did not hear from God, right? There's going to be seasons like that, right? And so when there's seasons like that, it's like, okay, we want to do as much as we can for the Lord, to keep this going. And then there will be seasons, right, that God's not really saying much, like outside of the usual. Like, yes, we have the Holy Bible where, 66 books and there's plenty of God's word there. Yes, we have sermons and messages we can listen to. Yes, we need to be continuing to pray. But, sometimes like we may have seasons where you're not hearing God as much, or necessarily you don't feel like you really feel God as much, and you start to question and you wonder, is God even still around? And the fact of it is, God is still doing what he's doing. God is still God. God is still standing on business. And sometimes God's waiting on you, like sitting back, like waiting for you to do what he's already told you to do. And sometimes God is just testing us and testing our faith, and we're like, are you going to do what I already told you what to do like 60 times? I've already told you this. I've been telling you this for weeks and for months, sometimes years. Are you going to do what I've already told you to do? Like, are you going to do this thing? Right? And so sometimes, and what I have seen, and I've experienced this for myself personally as a believer, and I've also seen this happen with other people, whereas that people take that as a sign that, oh, God has left me. Oh, God has forsaken me. Oh, God's not going to do what he says he's going to do. So I'm just going to stop doing what I have known that I'm supposed to be doing. And then I purposely put myself in a delayed situation. I purposely deter myself because I don't continue to do what God told me to do, just because that I'm not hearing that constant like voice and word from the Lord. And so just because you get those seasons where it may feel like silence, that doesn't mean that you work less. You put in even more effort in that time. So I feel like in those times we need to put in more effort. And that could go into like any situation in life. So in this last stretch of this year, fam, I'm encouraging us to work like we've never worked before. Let's work hard. Let's be dedicated. Let's be determined, right, with our work. So that's with, our relationship with the Lord, our spiritual health, with our churches, with our businesses, with your places of employment. If you're a student, work like you have never worked before. Work hard. Let this be the hardest you ever have worked in your life between right now, July 1st through December 31st of 2025. Okay. And let's put in more effort. Because like I said, you can work, but you can work with minimum effort. But let's maximize our effort and then the work that we do, right? The work we do as a friend, right? As a wife, as a mother, right? Let's put effort into these things, effort into being a member and a leader of our churches. Let's put the maximum effort in, okay? This year towards the goals that you have. I'm sure there's a lot of goals, okay? And by no means I'm not here to no put the hammer down on anybody else or anything like that. But this is like I said, this is something that I felt the Lord has given to me this morning. And I could have slept. I could have went back to sleep and got like another 2.5 hours of sleep. Actually, I could have probably got at least 3 hours of sleep. But I just chose to stay up. I chose to stay up because my brain was going, and I'm like, okay, let's do something. Let's do something. So I got busy. Got busy this morning getting stuff done. So this year, let's continue to prepare for what else is coming for the new year. Let's prepare for what's going to happen for the rest of this year. Let's prepare what's going to happen for next year. Let's work. Let's put in the work this year, and let's put in the effort. Let's maximize the effort that we have towards our goals this year. Last one, because I got to go. I have a meeting in 9 minutes. I have a counseling meeting in 9 minutes. Number 3, goal killer. Number 3, goal killer. Can y'all guess what that is? 3, lack of accountability. Lack of accountability. Lack of accountability is the last one I'll share for today. Lack of accountability. I notice human nature, for the most part, don't like to be accountable. Because a lot of us don't like to be challenged. A lot of us don't want to be uncomfortable. Understood. Sometimes your upbringing, your childhood, your teen years, your early adult years also may have an impact of lack of accountability, right? But if you truly want to reach your goals for this month of July, for the rest of the summer, for this upcoming fall, and the end of the year, we have to have accountability. We have to have accountability. As a counselor, right? As a licensed professional counselor, right? I'm accountable to the Virginia Board of Counseling. I'm accountable. I have to do and follow what they tell me to do according to their standards or practice. Okay. I also have to follow ethics, ACA ethics. Okay. And also follow the laws and regulations for the state of Virginia. Okay. When it comes to counseling and mental health, right? I'm accountable to that. Okay. I have to remind myself that I need to be accountable to myself. And I think that's probably the most challenging piece on why so many of us don't like accountability, because we don't even want to keep our own selves accountable. We don't want to keep our own selves accountable. We think about how many promises that we make as an individual to ourselves, and how many of those promises are actually fulfilled. How many of those promises actually come into fruition? How many of those promises actually happen in our life, right? So first and foremost, we have to start getting used to actually being accountable to ourselves. So when you say you're going to wake up at 6 a.m., guess what? You need to discipline yourself to wake up at 6 a.m. If you're going to say, look, I'm going to lose weight this year, you got to be disciplined with doing that. If you're going to say, I'm going to start working out, you got to be disciplined in doing that, right? Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to do that for you. So you want to first start being accountable to yourself. And then once you start being accountable to yourself, you can also lean on other people to help you to stay accountable. Like with myself as physical health, right? So towards the ending of 2024, I created like a physical health ladies group or whatnot. Of course, everybody's on there really excited. December, January, even some of February. And unfortunately, by March, the group is non-existent. Okay. It was the lack of accountability, the lack of accountability. Like so many of us don't like having accountability, but like I said, it goes back to for ourselves first. And we don't know how to be accountable to ourselves. How in the world can we be accountable to someone else? And let's jump into our spiritual well-being, our relationship with the Lord. And we're not able to be accountable to the Most High, to the creator of this world, to the creator of us, if we're not willing to be accountable to God, how in the world can we be accountable to another human being? More than likely, it's not going to happen. More than likely, not going to happen. I know there's a lot of people, that's not necessarily believers, and they do a really good job with accountability. But as believers, we got to be accountable to self. We have to be accountable to the Lord. So with my own self, I got 5 minutes. I have 5 minutes. So with my own self, just to be transparent here, I was doing really good. I would say I was doing really good in January, February when it came to my physical health. Actually, March, I was doing okay in March too. April came, and April was just jacked up month, physical health. Then, okay, May, I started getting back into it. And so I started working out a little bit more, started walking a little bit more. A new friend of mine in this local area of Harrisonburg, Virginia, she's been holding me accountable. Have been going to the gym with her sometimes. We just did a walk together on Sunday night. So she will text me throughout the week, asking me about when are we going to be working out. Even on the days that we're not able to work out, she knows that I end up still walking because, of course, I've been posting a lot of that. Because when I'm walking now, most times not every time, but sometimes that I walk, I also record it because I'm talking with you all and trying to give you all encouragement as I'm encouraging myself. So, in each area in our life, we got to make sure that we're finding a way to be accountable. Mental health, this is why people are in therapy, because they're either they're saying it or not saying it, directly or indirectly, is in need of accountability, right? So for us to make sure we accomplish our goals for the rest of this year, just know you need accountability. You will never be in a place that you are more intelligent to not have accountability. You would never be in a place in your life that you have it all together, that you would never have accountability. Like, everyone needs accountability, okay? Everyone needs accountability. Everyone. It doesn't matter what your position is in this world. Doesn't mean that, either you president, king, queen, princess, delegate, whatever, millionaire, billionaire, doesn't matter what your status is. Like, everyone is in need of some sort of accountability. All right. Definitely. And like I said, our travel team is reading this book here, and it talks about some stories about how some people ended up doing things they should have never done, and it messed up their reputation and messed up their career. And when I was reading some of those parts, I'm like, well, where were their friends, or where were their trusted and safe people? That's the only way. People only know what they know. They don't know what I don't know. And I say that sometimes, with people I, work with, and I'm like, I only know what I don't, I only know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know. I can try to assume, but until you actually tell me what's going on, that's the only way I can assess the situation, right? And so sometimes people hold back because they don't want no one assessing the situation. They don't want to know and hear about what's going on. I've had it happen many of times in my life, and current friendships, even past friendships, where people didn't want to be accountable, so they avoided sharing information. And because they already knew what I was going to say about the situation, right? So I'll leave you all with that at this moment. So the three goal killers, we have: number one, talking too much about things that don't matter. Number two, no preparation, no work, and no effort towards the goal. And number three, the lack of accountability. All right, fam. So I will talk to you all later as well. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that accountability. I wasn't able to get to full of that part, but I'll do another live later on talking about that lack of accountability as well. So I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all have a great day. If you have not already shared this video, go ahead and share this video. If you're on Facebook and you have not followed me, if you have not followed my Facebook page, I have a goal this week. Of having 25 new followers. Okay, so some of you, know me, you check out my Facebook all the time, and I just don't know why you have not already chosen to follow me. But go ahead and hit that follow button. All right, and let's follow each other. Okay, and you get to hear more information on what's going on. And for you all that's on YouTube, if you have not liked this video, go ahead and like the video right now. If you have not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe right now to this channel. And then I would like for you to go ahead and share this to anyone you know that may need to listen to this. I know you all, Facebook family, YouTube family, you all know 12 people that can hear what I just shared. So go ahead and share this with 12 people that you know. And I will talk to you all later. Have a great and blessed Good Tuesday. Have a great July 1st, 2025. And I'll talk to you all later, okay? Bye. Bye, YouTube.